What's up, everyone? Steven here from Techmaker Studio. In this episode, we're going to wrap up our ER721 smart contract for our NFT generative project. At least we're going to wrap up the basic version and move on to building out the UI and updating all of the rest of the stack for our generation event. I think I'm going to probably come back later on and deal with royalties and stuff like that. So we'll have some updates to do to the smart contract soon in a few days, but for now I think this is going to be it. So the last couple of things that we need to do are, first of all, we're going to set up something so that we can buy more than one at a time. And the other thing we're going to do is limit the amount that can be minted. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to say, I'm actually going to copy, first of all, let me delete these lines we commented out at the end of the last one. And I'm gonna copy this entire test here, and we're gonna change this to say it allows a person to purchase several NFTs. Okay. And all I want to do is change this to be the number 4. And I think, let's see. So which? I wonder if there's a ERC 721. It's over here. I have to open it up in the token. ERC 721. Maybe let's look at the IERC, just the interface. So function balance of returns the number of token in the owner's account. Okay, so that's fine. So what we can do is just check the balance. I was gonna say we could check that. That this account, this buyer, owns all of the individual tokens, but I don't know which IDs they'll get because I don't know what order these. I assume these tests run from top to bottom, but it might be randomized or something. So I'm trying to make the test like non-fragile. But let's change this to be 7, so our buyer is a different account. And then instead of doing this, let's just say balance equals a weight frog balance of, and let's say buyer. And we don't need this token URI thing. And then let's say assert equal balance. And we want to say 4. And the only thing I'm going to do, I think I'm going to leave this starting ending balance test in here because I want to make sure all the payments are still working properly. But instead of 0.05, it should be 0.2 because we're buying 4 of them. So if we go run this test, it's going to fail. And it's going to fail because we haven't actually set up the ability to create multiple, essentially. Or to mint multiple at once. So let's just see what the test says. Let's hope it fails. Okay, so balance of is not a function, so I need to put balance of. Let's run that one more time, and I'm going to assume it's going to fail. We'll come back to it in just a second. So basically what we're going to do, assuming that fails, is we're going to say this bit of code, we're going to move into a new function, and it's going to be a private method. That I guess we'll just call like mint internal, or mint for purchase or something like that. And we're gonna run it the same number of times that the quantity is representing. And we also will need to make sure that we have the price times quantity, not just the price. Okay, so let's go check our test. Expected BN1 to equal 4, so I'm not going to run that again, but because I know that it's working, I think. But so we're going to say assert. Let's just do parse int here just to get that taken care of. But we know that it's broken. At least we're pretty sure it's broken. I don't want to run that test again on video. So I'm going to go ahead and write a function called mint for purchase. And let's say that it takes in an address recipient like this, and it's going to be private, so nobody can call it outside of our contract. So what we're going to do is cut this, and we're going to paste this here. And instead of message sender, we're going to say recipient. And we're going to return the new item. Let's say returns, what does that return? uint 256, like this. And let's do return mint for purchase, and then message.sender. And basically this didn't change any functionality. This is just a refactor. So if we go over here and we just comment out this test, we should be green still. Normally what you want to do is refactor before you make any new changes. It's as they say, make the change easy and then make the easy change. So we've refactored our code, our tests are green. Let me uncomment that test. And then over here, what we want to do, in actual fact, I don't think we need to return an item ID for any particular reason. I think we had that because the original code was returning something. We copied some code from the actual like the Open Zeppelin website. So I don't think we need to return anything here either, because we're not using this ID for any particular reason. At least not right now. We may come back and modify that. Okay, so what we can do is basically go for uint I, and then we'll say I equals 0. I is less than quantity, right? So if we pass in the number 5 or the number 4, let's say the number 4, right? It's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, so that's 4 items. So we want to stop before we get to 4. And then we want to say I++, and let's just bump that up. And before I forget, let's actually make sure that the message value is greater than or equal to the price times the quantity. And let's say we're going to transfer the price times the quantity. Okay, and in my test, actually, let me make sure I send enough along with it. So we're going to say 0.2. And let's run the test, and let's see if it's green. Okay, so I had mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, but you can see we have a small precision error here, which is why I was starting with the is above, is below. For all intents and purposes, we can see this is working. It's the exact same number with a trailing 00001. Same thing here, but with a 99999. So like, you can essentially see it's the same deal. Probably fix that test later. But for now, it's working. So we can tell, let me actually just check. You know what? Let me fix these tests because I want to make sure that it's working. So we're going to say is above, and let's make this 019, like that. And let's say is below. I'm not going to fix all the tests, I don't think. I'm just going to fix, I may actually have that backwards. So the ending balance should be, yeah, that should be right. Let's run it. So we probably will still have the failure on this one, or we could. I mean, it's obviously kind of arbitrary. It's just sort of like the rounding in the, it's why you don't rely on floats for precision like that. Okay, so you can see that now our allows person to purchase one NFT is failing, but our other test is fine. So I'll fix the other one later off camera. That's totally cool. But now you see how to do it. You basically just want to define like a precision range. So I just have 0.01 above, 0.01 below. You could do like, you know, a whole bunch like that if you want. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is actually just add this prevention of, I don't want to be able to mint more than so many, right? And in order to do that, what I want to do is this. We're going to say it doesn't allow more than the max mint, something like that, async. And let's see here. it allows the person to purchase several NFTs. Also, let's go ahead and let's actually do this. It doesn't allow more than the max quantity, which I'm going to say is 10, and I'm going to make this 11, and then I'm going to say truffle assert dot reverts, and we're going to say can't mint more than 10, and we don't need the rest of this. Then back in my frog, I'm going to go ahead and run this. We're going to assume it's going to fail because it will allow you to mint as many as you want right now. And I did pass in the number 11 correctly, right? Yes, but that won't solve my problem because I need to pass in 55 there because that's 11 times 0.005 or 0.05 rather. Yeah, so you can see we have this reason not enough ETH sent, and we actually wanted this other error. And in this case, we expected to see it not fail. Yeah, so it did not fail. Okay. So what we need to do here is pretty straightforward. We just want to say require quantity is less than or equal to 10. And I don't really need to do anything fancy like put that in a variable. I know that I don't want to allow more than 10, and so it's just what it's going to be. So, and I need to give it my message, which I'm just going to copy again so that I get it exactly correct. Okay, can't mint more than 10. Okay, we'll run the test, and now that should pass. And this is pretty much it. The last thing I want to do is really simple. It's going to be the same kind of deal. I'm actually going to copy this test here. And what I'm going to do is, instead of doing this, I'm going to do it. Well, let me copy the internal part. So we're going to run this once with like 2. We're going to await it. Doesn't really matter who the buyer is or whatever. We're going to run it again with like 7. We'll run it. I'm going to say there's a max of 20 for test purposes. Okay. 2, 7, 12. What does that get me to? Let's do 11. So that gets me to 20. And then this guy should just purchase 1. And this one's going to revert. And we're going to say project is finished minting. Okay, I'm missing a parenthesis everywhere, I guess. Okay, let me just add this up really quick. 2, 7, so that's 9, that's 20. Let me make sure that I have the right amount. So that should be 10. It's going to be 3, 5. And then we have our 11, which was 5, 5. Okay, and we're asserting reverts there. I'm trying to think if I need to add anything on this side of the test. I guess not. Let's run it. I can hard code the max amount for now, but I'm gonna want to change it before I deploy. I guess I could probably change it in my deploy script. Can't mint more than 10. Can't mint more than 10. Oh, it's because I left the 11 in there. So let's make this 5, and then let's make it 6. So this person really likes this project, and they're minting a lot of them. Let's make sure this basically does what we think, and then we'll jump in and fix it. Okay, so it did not fail. Perfect. So for this, what I want to do is going to be slightly more complicated. What we're going to have to do is, instead of doing this in the purchase, in the mint for purchase, what I want to do is say require token IDs dot current is less than or equal to max token ID or something like that. Max token mint. I gotta think about it. Max mintable. That's what I want to say. Max mintable. Okay, so basically, the first token is going to get the ID 1, right? Because we start off with 0. So the very first token, we increment. We go from 0 to 1. And then let's say we only want to do 20. So we go 0, 1. Each one gets up 1, up 1, up 1. We end up with the token is 20. Then we check the current when we try to mint the next one. And if it's already at 20, we just fail. Okay. And what did we say? Did we put a message here? Project is finished minting. Like that. Okay. So now we didn't need to add this max mintable. And first of all, let's put it in the constructor here. And we'll just say it's 20 for now. And I'm going to change that later. Uint like that. And let's run the test. If this is green, I think we'll stop here. When I actually deploy this, I might just change that hard code to whatever number I want. But we'll see. My test would be broken in that case. Okay, so I have an extra dot somewhere. Let me check on that. Project is finished minting. That's pretty weird. You know what I think it is, actually? I'm getting a little bit tripped up by this. This is what I was talking about either earlier in a previous video. I think that all of these, when we run these tests, they're all updating the chain, if I'm not mistaken, the same. So I think we're basically running out before we even hit this point. So what I'm going to do, I need a URL, but I'm actually going to deploy a new contract here. So what I'm going to do is say let fresh frog equal await frog.new, and we'll pass in that URL. And then I'm going to copy this. You know what? I'm just going to say frog. And then we're going to ax this like that. So now we're doing 2, 7, 5, 6. So that should be the correct amount. And then the last one should revert. Let's try it. Okay, so it didn't fail that time. Let's see. So let me just make sure my math is correct again. So 2, 7, 5, 6. Let me make this 2. And I'm actually starting to understand why that didn't fail. I think if this passes, then I know what's going on. I just did the counting kind of wrong in my head. Expected to fail with project is finished minting. Not enough ETH sent. Okay, can fix that. This is a little bit tedious, but it's actually also really, really helpful to kind of see all of this while you work through it and get a good sense for why things are going wrong. Okay, so now it's all passing. Okay, so what's going on? So we only want to be able to mint 20, correct? So this is 2, 7, 9, 14, 20. And then we're getting to the 21st one, and that one's okay, but the 22nd one is not. And it is specifically because this is 0. I think it's because we get here and we say when we're about to mint the 21st one, basically it says the current one is 20. Then we increment. We need to increment first. Make sense? So let's just talk through this for a second. So the very first time we call this, tokens.current is 0. But then the next thing we do is increment. And so the very first token's ID is going to be 1. So basically we're always trailing by 1 here. So when the token ID is going to be 21, this thing above is still evaluating to 20. So if we bump this down, now our call for just 1 should fail. So we have our 20, and then the 21st one should fail. And if this passes, I think we're done with this contract in its most basic form. And we have tests all written, so if we want to refactor and clean up the code a little bit, we can. There's not a lot of code in the first place, but anyway, so that's pretty much it. In the next video, we're going to start setting up the web front end so that people could actually buy from our website and mint NFTs directly there. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you next time.